Hey everyone, it's Brandy and welcome back to my channel, Brandy Janae's Bookshelf. As you can tell from the title of this video as well as the board, it's time for another deck of TBR. If you have not seen my TBR from last month, October was pretty hefty on the amount of books that I had at the start of the month. I think as far as actual reading, I did a really good job, like way better than I was expecting going into the month. However, I did not get through all of the books that were actually on my official TBR. So before I get into the TBR for this month, I'm gonna go through everything that I had on my TBR from last month and what I did and did not read. So the first prompt that I had for the month was to finish a series, and for this one I needed to pick a series that's finished, and if I have already started it, read whatever's left in the series. If I haven't started it, then I needed to read the entire thing. I think at the end of that video I had decided that I was going to go with the Astro Lost in Space series. I decided to swap that out with After the Rain. I did read all three of these, which means I did complete that prompt. So for prompt number 2, I ended up landing on TBR jar, and the randomly selected jar that I was supposed to get was the backlist title. I had picked out 2 options for that one. The first one was The Queen of Nothing, and I knew that I was going to need to reread books 1 and 2 in the series in order to make my way to this one, and I just didn't know if I was going to be able to do that amongst all of the other reading that I knew I had to do before going into the month, and then also getting that first prompt. So I just decided that I was going to pick another option just in case. So that other option was The Other Side of the Sky by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner. I did not read either of these books, so that's already a prompt that I did not complete. Prompt number 3 was to read a book with fire or flames on the cover, and the one I decided to go with was Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. I didn't get to this one either. Because I didn't read this, obviously this will be another prompt added for November. I also forgot to mention before I go any further is that I think that I moved some prompts around because I had all of these books that I'm going to mention on my TBR, and I might have mentioned it in my October TBR video, but just in case I didn't and you did watch that video and you notice some things are matching up, I decided to move books around to fit prompts better and to also get in books that I knew I needed to read anyway. But moving on, prompt number 4 was to revisit an author, and the one that I decided to pick for that was The Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, sequel in the Red Rising series. I have not finished this one, but by the end of the month I did read halfway through it, so I am counting it as completed. Prompt number 5 was to read a 2021 release, and for that one I decided to go with Beasts of Prey by Ayanna Gray. I did not touch this one at all, so another prompt being added for November. Prompt number 6 was to read a book with a main character who was an adult or who is an adult, and for that one I went with Magic Strikes by Alana Andrews, and I did read this one. Prompt 7 was another TBR jar pick, and for this one I ended up picking out Subscription Box, and the one that ended up getting chosen was Witches Steeped in Gold by Sienna Smart, and I did not read this one either. I think what happened is that I wasn't really that much in a fantasy mood, which is kind of shocking for me, but I think I've been going really hard on fantasy this year and not enough of an even mix. So when I had all of these books, I was interested in them, but this month when it's time to pick them up, I was just like, yeah, no, I'm actually not feeling that right now. Prompt number 8 was to read a manga, and for this one I chose Skip and Loafer Volume 1 by Misaki Takamatsu, and I did read this one. Prompt number 9 was to reread a book. Yes, to reread a book, and for that one I chose Magic Bleeds. I did also finish this one as well. Prompt number 10 was to pick a book using a different TBR game, and if you have not seen my October TBR, I decided to use Gavin from How to Train Your Gavin. He does a monthly TBR and his game is How to Play Your TBR Right, and I decided to use that. And I chose between two different books, and the one that won was Ace of Spades, and I did read this one. I have thoughts on this book, so, but yeah, I read it. It was really good. Not a review, but I read this one. Prompt number 11 was to read a book that somehow involved sports, and for that one I decided to go with Girl Got Game Volume 4 by Shizzy Rusino, and I did read this one. Prompt number 12 was to read an e-arc, and the one I chose out was How to Love Your Neighbor. I do not remember the author's name because this is, as just explained by the prompt, an e-arc, and I haven't read anything by this person, but I did not read this one. And then finally, prompt number 13 was to read an audiobook, and for that one I decided to go with The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, and I did read this one, and I did listen to the entire thing on audio. This is taking way too long to get through this portion, so now let me go ahead and get started with the prompts, because with the 6 that I start off with and then 5 not being finished at all, for the prompts I am starting with 11 prompts, and then if I have any doubles or if I end up with any crazy madness for like challenge prompts, then we might be here all night, which hopefully not the case. But let's go ahead and get started. I do have some other books that I need to get in or would like to get in as well this month, which I'll go over those at the end of this video. So go ahead and starting off with prompt number 1 or pull number 1, and that's Four of Spades. Four of Spades is actually a -1. I saw this in a different TBR game as well, and I decided to use this to kind of give myself a break when I needed it, which is actually going to work out perfectly for this month, because it means one less book that I have to pull for the month. Moving on to prompt number 2, which is Nine of Diamonds. Nine of Diamonds was to read a mass market paperback, and for that one I decided I'm going to go ahead and go with How to Catch a Queen by Alyssa Cole. Moving on to pull number 3, we have, that's a face card, so we will be doing a random selection for one of the TBR jars. That's 5. 5 is once again a backlist title. I will say that I'm not as excited for this one, mostly because I was not a fan of the story that this is based off of. But anyway, the one that ended up getting chosen was A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney. As far as I know, this is like an Alice in Wonderland retelling. I feel like I've heard good reviews about the actual story, but I have been avoiding this because I read Alice in Wonderland and I was not a fan of it. I don't know if I waited too late in life to read it, but I just did not like it at all. So as much as I've been wanting to read this, I'm like, if it's like too much like the original story, I have a feeling that I'm not gonna like it. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm gonna give it a try. I did another shuffle on to pull number 4, which is another face card. Back to the dice roller, we have 4. 4's novel series. I don't have any novel series, so we're gonna roll again, and that's a 3. 3 is actually manga series. So the red box is my manga series, so I'm gonna shake this up and figure out what I'm gonna be reading. And the one that ended up getting picked out was Mixed Vegetables, and because I haven't started this series yet, I'm gonna be starting with volume 1, of course, by Ayumi Komura. And moving on for pull number 5, we have that 3 of Spades, and the prompt for 3 of Spades was to read a book from an author of color. I found this a little bit hard because I feel like most of my authors of color that I currently have are like fantasy books, and as I just mentioned, I'm not in the biggest fantasy mood at the moment. The one that I decided to go with was Forbidden Promises by Cynthia Williams, and this is actually gifted to me recently by Carla, so thank you so much for sending this my way. Just so you know, I did get it. I couldn't figure out a way to like thank you for it because I don't have like any contact information for you, but I did get it. Thank you, and I'm adding it to my TBR for the month. Moving on to pull number 6 for the month, which is, oops, one of those cards was facing me. That's Seven of Hearts. The prompt for Seven of Hearts was to read a YA contemporary, and I actually just pulled out a book that I was going to possibly use for the previous prompt. But because I got this prompt now, I'm going to go ahead and add Things We Couldn't Say by J. Coles. Alright, pull number 7 is, what is that? 4 of Clubs. Hopefully the angle of the camera isn't too different. I had to change out my battery, and I don't have time to sit here trying to fool around with the camera just to make sure everything gets back exactly where it was. But anyway, for 4 of Clubs, the prompt was to start a series. Instead of doing a manga, because like I said, I don't really want to start a manga right now, I have 2 audiobook options that I can go with, which I might end up trying to read both depending on how the month goes. But both of these books, actually I think I might even have 3 options, because all of these books are on my 12 must reads of the year. If I can fit all 3 of them in this month, that would be great. I just don't know if I have enough time. I don't know if it'll happen, and I know at least 2 of them for sure are on Hoopla, so if my hold runs out, I can re-download them, especially because I don't know if I've ever said this, but my library, like my current local library, I get 50 holds from Hoopla a month, which is crazy to me. I'm going off on a tangent again, and I need to hurry up. So one option for this could be Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I also have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. And then finally Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I think for now I'm going to select A Darker Shade of Magic. Moving on to pull number 8, which is 3 of Diamonds. I think that might actually be my second 3. So 3 of Diamonds was to read a book that is written by multiple authors. Hopefully you can see that enough. For that one, I know that technically I wouldn't be allowed to use this book since it is technically a reread for me, but it's on my TBR anyway, so I'm gonna go ahead and count it. And for that, I'm gonna go with Magic Slaves by Alona Andrews, which, if you didn't know, Alona Andrews is a combination of husband and wife, and they write the series together. So this is book 5, I believe. Moving on to pull number 9, we have 5 of Clubs. The prompt for that one is to read an adult book. And I'm looking at the books that I have, and I'm not really seeing a whole lot of options. I do see a few, but I feel like the few that I see, once again, they're fantasy, and I don't think I'm in a fantasy mood. So I'm kind of stuck, and I really don't know what to do. What I decided, because I can't think of something right now and I don't want to have to be filming this for too much longer, is that I'm actually going to pick a romance, and then I'll let you guys know next month if I finish that. Moving on to prompt number 10, which is the second to last, hopefully, and that one is 2 of Spades. And 2 of Spades is to read a book with a plant of any kind on the cover. Okay, I was trying to avoid it as much as possible because I just don't believe that fantasy is going to be the right option for me this month. But who knows? Something might happen. I might get tired of reading so much romance and contemporary that I need to break it up with some sort of fantasy. So I have 2 options. I think I might let you guys select which one I end up reading, because I don't know which one I want to read. I feel like I have more interest in one than the other, but I don't really know anything about the other one. So the obvious choice right now is Beasts of Prey by Ayana Gray. The other one is This Poison Heart by Kaylin Brown. I don't really know anything about this one. And on to the final pull, unless I get a 3 or 4, which I'm really hoping that I can just stick to the 11 pulls this month, and then it'll only be 10 books officially, since I got that -1 as the first prompt or the first pull, whatever. Okay, but hopefully the final pull is another face card. Of course it is. Okay, so my camera just cut off and I'm not sure if I got this in there, but I did roll and I got 2. That is my newly acquired, which is in here. I was just about to shake this up and pick out a new one. I'm pretty sure that this is updated as far as the last book haul that I did, and the only other new book that I have is already on my TBR, and then the other ones I'm going to mention as soon as I'm done. So yeah, let's go ahead and Whoop. Okay, so the first one that I ended up actually picking out was Things We Couldn't Say, which is already on my TBR. So I'm going to put this back in here just in case I don't read it this month. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this to happen, but actually Beasts of Prey got chosen as my newly acquired for TBR jar. So this is out of the running for the previous prompt of reading a book with a plant on the cover, which I guess you don't need to comment on that anymore. I didn't have any extra pulls for the month, meaning I am done with pulls. I feel like this is definitely doable, a lot smaller than my past few months TBRs. Besides those books, I do still have some other things that I would like to read. So I told you guys that I am participating in a Kate Daniels read along. So I have 3 other books that I need to read besides the one book, which is Magic Slaves, that I talked about. There are actually like 3 different novellas, and then one is a full-length novel, but it's a side story. It's not following Kate. I have Magic Test, which is book 5.3. I do also have Magic Gifts, which is book 5.4. And then finally, I have Gunmetal Magic. And then of course, I do have manga from Manga Spice Cafe that came in for, I think these are the September ones. So we have Mal Volume 1 by Rumiko Takahashi. Then we have Muhio and Roji's Bureau of Supernatural Investigation Volume 1 by Yoshiyuki Nishi. And then we also have Censor by Junji Ito. Other than that, if there's anything else that I read, it will just be like a random pick. That's everything that I am currently planning to read for the month of November. Let me know down in the comments what you guys are planning on reading this month. And if you have any romances that have plants on the cover, let me know, because I would be interested in possibly switching out that one book. But anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next one. Bye.